I'm Sarah Brizendine. I get to work for Woolsey Construction, and I get to interview Luke and Leah Woolsey today about their origin story, which I have seen the origin story like unfold over the years because I'm your sister.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And but I'm excited to just ask you questions I probably thought I never wanted to ask you before.
boy.
And and I think when you're going through it,
Mm-hmm.
you don't know it's your origin story. You're just
No.
like, I'm just living my life, and here we are. So I remember you as just an annoying little brother, growing up, and you were really interested in the fire science. So you were pursuing that,
Mm-hmm.
and you had met Leah, and you were smitten, and so you were doing the fire science thing. You were smitten with Leah, and just, I guess, take it from there. Like, what?
Yeah.
Tell me about your fire science. How did you get involved in that? What inspired you to be?
I actually was doing a book report in high school that talked about hot shots. Hot shots were the guys that would jump out of airplanes, drop into remote areas, and fight wildfire. And I'm like, everybody told you were supposed to already know what you wanted to do. And like, man, why hasn't anything hit me? And then I read that, and I'm like, oh, that's it. I'm going to fight fire. I'm going to jump out of airplanes and do crazy stuff. And this is going to be great. And through that, I got connected with local fire department's Explorer program, started pursuing my, before getting out of high school, started pursuing an associate's degree at local community college in fire science, and then got nationally certified as an EMT and started trying to get on with fire departments. And in the midst of all of that, I met Leah, and still convinced that's what I was going to do, and thought, nothing was going to ever derail me from that. And it's interesting how life just kind of happens. Like, you think you know where you're headed, and things turn. So, yeah, from there, I think one of the main things that kind of changed was I got a job after we got married in construction and took to it right away. Had never thought about construction, but I was convinced it was temporary, and 25 years later, here we are.
So what drew you to the fire science EMT hot shots was danger, the adrenaline, the adventure.
Well, for sure, I knew I wanted to work outside. I didn't know what that meant, and I knew I wanted to serve, in some capacity, like helping people, and there's so many different ways you can do that. It's not just first responders or anything like that, but it just seemed like all these things aligned, and I came by that pretty naturally as well. Like, just took to all of the courses, the medical side of it, the physical side of it. I knew I wanted to have that aspect, work outside, work with my body. And it's funny because construction met a lot of those same criteria. Like, no, I'm not jumping out of airplanes and putting my life in danger and fighting fires, but working outside, working with a team, working with my body, and then just having a natural, I guess, just that pull, like, where it just you just keep wanting to learn more, do more, be a part of it. So, yeah.
Well, and Leah, what did you think when you first met Luke and he was pursuing this fire science career, this EMT?
Yeah. I was excited for him, thought that was going to be our path.
Yeah.
And it didn't turn out to be our path.
Right. Right.
Well,
Things
what's
changed
interesting,
pretty quick.
we met at a bonfire. So, speaking of fire.
We did.
So
We met at a bonfire.
Did he try to put it
going
out?
into high school.
Aw.
So we were like 14, 15 years old.
Oh my gosh, that young?
Yeah.
Okay.
We didn't like start out in love.
I did, but it was very short-lived.
Yeah, I heard.
I got a really good right hook.
Yeah. Somebody dared you? Is that what
Somebody
happened?
dared me.
I was working up the nerve to go over and talk to her.
Uh-huh.
You know, I'm at this beach bonfire, and I see her out of the corner of my eye, and I'm like, I'm going to go talk to this lady.
Yeah, she looked good in the
Yeah.
like the bonfire
Yeah.
light.
I noticed him too.
Yeah.
That night. Yeah.
But she was talking to an upperclassman, and so I waited, and then she came over. I was like, oh, she's coming over this way. Tapped me on the shoulder, and I was talking to my buddies, and I turned, and I got clocked. Like, I mean, square in the jaw, like mouth open, like, what in the world just happened? And I had
That's
no
horrible.
idea. You'll have an opportunity to defend yourself. But like from my perspective, I mean, it was so out of left field.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I think maybe it was, I know this is going to sound weird, but looking back, it might have been, you know, God's intervention or something to keep us for a time from falling in love too soon, maybe. I don't know. We were so young.
Yeah, because 14, 15, it's never going to work out, right?
So I just said, that's it. I don't ever want to talk to her again.
Yeah, but you like the spunkiness. I mean, you got to admit, you were like, oh, she's a little.
No, I was.
No, you were like, no.
Every time I saw her, I'd kind of just rub my jaw and like give her a hard time, you know, just
Tease me about it.
really rub it in. And
I really did not mean to like hit him that
Who
hard.
dared you?
It was a upperclassman. I don't know if we want to name names.
No. Well, yeah.
We don't
gotta
have
get.
But yeah, I was trying to impress another guy. And he goes, oh, you know, I don't think you can hit hard. And I go, oh, yeah, I can. And he goes, go hit that guy. And he pointed to Luke. And so I'm like, okay, you know, and walk on up to him and tap him on the shoulder. And then I felt horrible.
Yeah.
Because that's not who I am. I'm not like that, you know.
No, it's anybody who knows you, it's very out of character.
Very.
Right? But
and I don't know why we had to, you know, get into that story.
well, I think a little bit of, you know, the idea that the transfer or change, moving from what you think you know and watching how life kind of does this beautiful weaving things together. And I always think of that, how we met, and also how it kind of deferred us getting together. As ridiculous,
For the right time.
Yeah, as ridiculous of a story as it is, it really is key to how we then reconnected. And you know, years passed, and I'm at a buddy's house, and I see a picture, and I'm going, "Hey, who's that? Let's hang out with her." And and you know, this is where I probably get in trouble on the story, but I reached out to her, and back then, you know, we didn't have cell phones.
Right.
So I left a message with her mom
Yeah.
and on a landline, and she calls back the next day, and I'm not there. My buddy doesn't want to. He's like, hey, he's not here. We were just seeing what you were up to. Doesn't want to give her my phone number, and she presses him for my phone number.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we talk, and I said, we just wanted to hang out. We should get together, the group, you know, kind of a chicken move, I guess. But so I set up, because she knew my buddy. And
Well, you needed protection.
Oh,
You didn't
yeah.
know if like
He was
the
gonna
right
get-
hook was or the left hook was the next. So it's
Exactly. He's going to get slapped again.
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I
So group setting is safe. I
yeah.
think that's a great way to
I needed
get to know
protection.
somebody.
You're right.
Yeah.
So day of the date. So we set up this group date. She agrees. He agrees. It's great. And I am going, shoot, I don't want this guy around. So I call him up, close buddy of mine, and I say, hey, Leah can't make it. He goes, no big deal. We'll schedule. We'll do something else another time. I go, okay, great. And I call her, and I go, hey, Mike canceled. She goes, oh, well, I'd still go. And I'm like, me too. So that was, I thought I was, going to get away with it.
Yeah.
But you want to tell them what happened? So we go on our great date.
On
the most amazing date.
It was wonderful. Yeah, we clicked. I mean, instantly.
Yeah.
So we went to the movies and dinner, and of course, girls don't eat on dates.
Right.
So
just salad.
I took like a bite of a French fry or something.
Yeah.
So after the movie, I'm, famished, and we're kind of more comfortable at that point. Had been talking for a few hours, and I go, I'm starving. Let's go to Jack in the Box. And
of course, it's what 11.
It's
o'clock?
like 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
And he goes, okay, yeah. And so we pull up to the Jack in the Box, and we're at the drive-through. And I look in front of us, and Mike, the guy that was supposed to go out with us that couldn't, was in the drive-through right in front of us. And so I go, hey, Luke, look who it is.
And I'm just like, stay in the car, stay in the car.
And he's like, oh, no, I'm caught. This guy was supposed to be busy.
In the middle of the drive-through. He gets out. We're parked now in the drive-through, and they're like, they kind of see each other, and then they look at me, and I think I could see in their eyes, they're like, oh, I know what you did.
Mm-hmm. He was caught.
Mm-hmm.
I was caught.
Oh,
but it was worth it.
Yeah.
But I think it was all over from there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We didn't really look back after that.
Yeah.
No.
Well, it's cool how you guys have grown together, and navigated all the twists and turns. And we often talk about taking the long way, right? And how many lessons have been learned. And I think what's so encouraging about taking the long way too is that there's no shortcuts. You have to take the long way. And I think in doing so, there's always going to be these forks in the road, and it's probably cool to look back in hindsight and be like, wow, if I took that fork in the road, our lives would have been like this.
Yep.
But here you are. And so you've been along for the whole journey of just that pivot. Mm-hmm. So you came home one day and you were like, guess what I did?
Well, yeah, so I was still planning on being a firefighter.
Mm-hmm.
We got married. Still pursuing the fire department,
Mm-hmm.
and through school, in the firefighting classes that I was taking, I mean, all kinds of different courses, confined space training, hydraulics. You're dealing with all kinds of stuff. But a big part of it is learning construction, knowing how fire spreads in buildings, suppression systems. I actually did a final report on a new commercial structure that had a cutting edge fire sprinkler system that was going in it at the time. And I mean, unbeknownst to me, here I am being exposed to construction and the failures of construction through fires. I mean, there was a big study on, roof structures because firefighters kept falling through them. Trusses were one of those early things that when they would fail all of a sudden, and they wouldn't give you any warning signs. So it was interesting kind of looking back at some of the connection, and then, getting a job to kind of till I got on the department as newlyweds. I was in construction.
I think you always had kind of this vision of being on the fire department, and they have a schedule where you work 4 days on, 3 days off. And he was thinking, well, I could do construction part-time, and then when I retire from the fire department, I can open my own business or do full-time construction. So he always kind of, I think, had that in his back pocket too,
right,
that he was interested in both firefighting and construction. So
Well, yeah, it's funny though, because I had very little exposure to construction before that. I think I helped my dad run a cable in an attic when I was a little kid, and I was like, whoa, this is what's in an attic. And it was super, exciting and scary at the same time, because it's don't step here, step there, and fish the wire. And I remember that was kind of interesting. And then I got to do a little summer project for you, painting some cabinets.
I think, I kind of want to take credit for getting him started in construction.
Yeah.
In my apartment in Ocean Beach.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, I paid you $40 to paint my 1920s kitchen cabinets purple. I am not a purple person.
Without the
I don't even
approval,
know.
without the approval of your landlord.
Right. Landlords did not know. And so here, my brother and his friend, who's getting paid $40 to paint things purple, is doing this in the courtyard. And the landlord found out very quickly and also found out I painted other stuff in my apartment. So I had to get all that painted back to Navajo white. But that was funny.
Yeah. So I'd have little exposure experiences to construction.
Did you build your ramp? Did you build your rollerblade?
Yeah,
ramp?
I had a frame. There was a framer in the neighborhood that helped us build, skate ramps and stuff. And I know he was kind of, he actually said how much he enjoyed construction. And I remember thinking, hey, that's a pretty cool option. There was a couple contractors that lived on our street too. But when we got married, and I was trying to get on the department, I got hooked up with a commercial subcontractor. They did commercial construction. And I remember it probably was the first week that I came home and said, I think I know how to put in a chandelier in our house.
Oh, yeah. I was excited.
Yeah, I bet.
I'm like, watch, I'll put a switch there, I'll grab power from there, and we'll cut a hole here.
She's like, oh.
Funny part of that story, though, is the part of the access, the attic to get to that was inaccessible. I couldn't fit. So I come down and I go, hey, Leah, you got to climb through this tiny little hole up there and take this saw and cut a hole here and fish this wire. And she looked at me and was like, what?
Are you crazy?
Yeah.
You want me to climb through it? What?
Did you do it?
I did.
Oh.
Yeah. I wanted the chandelier.
So you almost got into construction too. So like that slippery slope.
Yeah.
So
that actually started kind of our, as I'm waiting to get on the department, and eventually we realized that's not actually for us. But yeah, I mean, because it was kind of came down to, hey, we're interviewing, I'm trying to get on these departments. There's guys much older and much more experienced than I am. It's very competitive. I think there was one point, San Diego Fire Department was hiring 2 positions, and I think they had either 600 or 800 applicants. And I just, I thought, I'm good at this construction thing. Why don't we start buying our own houses and flipping them? And this will just be brilliant because I already know how to put a chandelier in.
How hard could it be?
right. If you have your wife like crawl in the little
Attic
spaces.
space.
Yeah. So like,
She knows how to do a dry saw or a drywall saw. You're good. You're golden.
What
That's
was it?
funny.
Maybe a year after we got married, we started investing, and which is a whole nother funny story that,
Well, like things start happening in your life that start making this turn. Like you meet Leah. So you were, I think one time you mentioned there was firefighting possibilities in the Navy, like living on a Navy ship.
Yep.
Obviously, Leah probably didn't want to join the Navy and live on that ship.
Yep. That was part of
To
my
be with
backup
you.
plan
Yeah.
before I met Leah or re-met Leah. I was thinking, hey, I'll go into the service.
Yeah.
And then that wasn't a thought in my head after we met and started dating. And, we got started young. I mean, yeah, I guess you could say we're high school sweethearts. We started dating her senior year. I was just about to finish up at community college with my 2-year. Put that on hold for our honeymoon. And, it's just kind of one of those things, like you start to change the path little by little, thinking, well, I don't want to go to paramedic school, and I don't want to spend another 2 years and another, chunk of time where it felt like we were moving pretty fast. Our lives were getting started, and so we started investing, thinking this is a great way, a great avenue. And we were running drywall mud together at midnight when she was 6 months pregnant with our firstborn. So, I mean, we got married at 19, And, we started our family at 21, 22. But we also started our investment business and kept working in construction, had a lot of great mentors that fed into me and my experience. And she got into real estate. She got her license, and I got my contractor's license. And, we just started building a life together. And you look back and you're like, how did you go from, seemingly this path and then over here? And it's like, it actually came together pretty, it seemed like it all fed into itself, and
Yeah.
you're just kind of moving where life kind of directs you in a way.
Yeah, where doors are open.
Yeah.
Right. And so the firefighting door just seemed to be closing instead of hitting yourself or hitting that brick wall
Yeah.
and, trying to force it back open. I think you had mentioned where you could have gone to paramedic school because that was the track that firefighting was taking.
It
if
was,
I'm saying
yeah.
that correctly. And you guys made a decision together because now you're a team
Right.
of, what does this look like? And
Yeah.
so tell me about that.
Yeah, at that
Leah.
point, we were already married. We were both working full time. And for him to do paramedic school would have cost us money, and he wouldn't have been able to work. We had bought our very first condo, had a mortgage, and so it just really wasn't feasible to be able to send him.
I mean, we thought about it for a minute.
Yeah.
We kind of unpacked it, and we figured,
Like, what do we have to do to make this work? But
why go to paramedic school? And we've got these real estate ambitions, and construction's going well, and I'm liking it, and I really, the satisfaction that I was finding through building and turning around at the end of the day and laying eyes on what you did.
You're creating it. It's art. In a
Yeah,
way.
and tapping into that was a new thing for me, and just being a part of cool teams, having great mentors.
And who have been some of those mentors?
Yeah, there's a lot, actually. There's a lot of people that have really, at different times, stepped up, whether it's for, a long period of time, like another contractor that trained me for a number of years, that a guy by the name of David, worked for him. He really took the time to teach me a little bit more than just the trade work, but quite a bit of the trade work, but also connected me with the business side of it. My father-in-law, I mean, I jumped in feet first on this first flip, and, we bought our second house at 21, and she's now 6 months pregnant, and I'm going, I'm not going to get this done before the baby gets here. We actually ended up having to move into it and brought our firstborn home to that first house. Lived there for a few months before we had our first sale transaction solely done by me and Leah. That was our first contract.
Yep.
And Leah, were you in the real estate at that time? Did you have your license or?
No, that was years later. But my dad, he's a realtor. And so, he was one of my mentors as well. When I did finally get my real estate license, I went to work under him. So he trained me and mentored me. I would say he impacted us.
Yeah, quite
greatly.
a bit.
Yeah.
My dad gave me a lot of the financial understanding and background. He was in the banking industry, I think, for over 40 years.
Yeah.
And there was a couple guys, field guys, that a guy by the name of Andy, who really took the time to teach me what it's like to be a craftsman. And then along the way, just, there's countless people that pour into you along the way. I had a great guy working with me for a couple years, 3.5 years, and by the name of Clint. And he and I really took, that's when I had just started my business, took it kind of to the next level. And we had several companies that we've started over the years. We've had investment companies that we've been at the head of, and Woolsey Enterprises right now, doing business as Woolsey Construction. We've been running that company for 17 years. We have a great team.
You're one of them.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And it's humbling to think like, okay, you take the long way, you're kind of meandering through life, and then you get to a place where you're like, you've experienced some level of success, and you look back and you see all of the different projects we've done, all the different investments and real estate transactions, and houses we've built, bought, sold, helped other clients with, designs, permits, and you just really dive into, the last 25 years. We're getting ready to celebrate 25 years
Of marriage.
Of marriage.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And you just kind of, 25 years, 3 kids, and a few businesses later, and you're like, wow, this is how it happens. You just kind of keep going.
Yeah.
Learn as you go and try and figure it out. I'm sure there's more efficient ways to do it. That's why we say the long
That's
way.
no fun.
Right.
A few less bumps and bruises along the way, because it's not all roses. I mean, we've had our hard lessons, especially in real estate.
Yeah.
We were, I don't know, in the middle of 3 or 4 projects that we owned personally during the '08 crash.
Yeah.
So those are things that you can't replace the lessons you learn from that.
Right.
And we also pivoted though, and
Yeah.
we've done non-conventional purchases like courthouse auctions where you're bidding cash on houses. Not bank owned, not IRS, but like foreclosure.
Right.
And we were able to kind of learn through on that hard time the other side of this investment. It's not all just everything goes up forever.
Right.
The 8 years prior to that, we thought we couldn't mess up,
Right.
And then you realize, oh no, there's cycles to
Markets
this.
fluctuate.
Yeah, markets fluctuate.
It can be volatile,
Mm-hmm.
and you just have to weather it, or
Or get your clock clean and get back up and dust yourself off
for sure.
and do it again, but do it different, do it better, do
Yeah.
it smarter. And we bring some of that to our clients. We've been the client, we've been the investor, we've been the developer, we've been the real estate agent, on that side of it. We've been the contractor, and we have a deep understanding of financing too, and different, the market forces. And so when we come alongside our clients now, we're able to bring 25 years of not just construction, but this real estate and investing and
Life experience, expertise from just going through it.
yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.
A lot of design stuff too. We've done a lot of design build and interior design, which Leah is excellent at. But
She really is.
Thank you.
I always love visiting because every season, every holiday is just like to the T, decorations.
Thank you. I do enjoy that.
Yeah.
That was my favorite part when we were flipping houses. Was I would get this blank canvas that I could just do whatever I wanted with it, you know, and pick out all the finishes, and so that was a lot of fun.
She was my client on our flips. I was the contractor. She was my boss, basically. Tell me what to do and ask me why it's not done yet. And
Yeah.
hurry up.
Hurry up. Let me list this thing.
Yeah. So anytime we go on a trip, you always ask everyone at the end, like, what was your highlight? What was your low light? And what was your what the heck? So I'm just wondering, like, I know it's a lot of years to look over and think back to, but like, what stands out to you as like the highlight, and what was the low? Yeah.
I know the
And
low
for each too.
Oh boy.
because the low is hard. My low is when you look back and you realize how stubborn you were, you know, and I go, man, there were some people trying to warn me or teach me, just whatever it was in business and investments, and wishing that I was better at listening to that outside people that have been there, you know, not thinking I know better.
Yeah.
So that's something that when I look back, I'm like, man, I had a lot of good people, and some of it I listened to, but I wish I could have listened to more of it.
Yeah.
Well, my highlight would definitely be working with him for the last like 25 years.
Yeah.
You know, I think
we
not
get
a
to-
lot of, we work together every day.
Yeah.
Not a lot of married couples get to do that. And well, and if they do, they don't always stay married. So,
Right. Right.
I think that's been my highlight.
For sure. Getting to work together is awesome. I mean,
You guys make a great team.
Thank you.
You really do, because you see each other's blind spots. You're growth oriented. You love each other. You love the people around you, and you want to share that.
We have strengths in very different areas.
Yes.
So
For sure.
we complement each other.
Yeah.
everything that we do is better together, for
Yeah.
sure. Everything. And whether it's construction, and I'm not asking her to go out in the field and frame a house, but like the feel that she brings to the overall experience, the business, you know, all of that is just, you know, you can't replace that.
Right.
And same thing with our investments and our flips and, you know, all of along the way to be able to have your partner that you trust, that you know has the same goals
Yep.
and same vision and the same values too. Like the
Yeah.
way that we view what we're doing is aligned.
Yeah.
And we're not just doing it for ourselves. We're
Right.
doing it for our community, our friends, family, our children, our employees, our clients. I mean, we want that feel in all avenues of our life. It's not just one-sided. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's cool that a lot of people have poured into you, and that you're wanting to do the same, because that's what makes working for Woolsey Construction different for me, is that, you know, the growth orientation and the pouring into and the professional growth side of things that you really find important for everyone on your team, really.
Yeah.
So Leah, what's been a low point for you?
Low point. Well, probably, I mean, I would say like my lowest point, we had a house flood. I'm sure Luke has probably shared that with you on another episode. But I would say that was a low point. That was just hard to be displaced. And we really did get to kind of see the other side of things of like how a client feels, though, because we had to do a whole remodel through that whole thing. But that was a low point for me. It was it was a very stressful time.
Yeah. Because you're still having to work
Yes.
together. and
Raising
then
our kids still.
raising your kids. Yeah.
And just kind of not having a home, and you see what it's like to be out of your home and your space, and going home to what?
Chaos. Chaos and just.
Yeah, we lived in trailers
Yeah.
in the driveway for a year.
Yeah.
And it's hard to keep your spirits up when you know, for the duration.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have good days and bad days, but I think when you're in it for the long haul and you're like, okay, we just got to get through this,
Yeah.
you can get exhausted.
For
and
sure.
to have an entire year marked by that, along with other, you know, there was a lot that hit all at once
Yeah.
that year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
I remember that. And
We
just,
lost a good friend that year too, and
Yeah. We kind of just keep it as like it's the flood year, but it was like there was a lot that went on that year.
yeah.
So, you know, that year's it was tough, but I think that we also learned a lot through that, and like we can put ourselves in our clients' shoes now, which we hadn't been able to do before that, and I think that's important to be able to empathize with people in that way. But
Yeah, the greatest thing there was the closeness. I mean, it was like camping with your kids for a
that
year.
was- yeah.
Like,
yeah. And you're living
Good comes
without
out of it.
things that
yeah.
you think you need, but it's in storage and you haven't touched it for a year.
Yeah.
and
We
you're
didn't
just
see our
like,
crap for a year.
Yeah.
It's like, we
why
must
did
not
We
need
didn't
this.
miss it.
Right.
We must not need it.
Let's get new crap.
Yeah,
Right,
well,
just, you
I mean, we
know.
lived without it for so long. It's like, do we need it all together?
Right. Like a sense of thankfulness comes
Yeah.
out of that.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think my what the heck is all of it. The combined, like I'm just like, I still feel like we're the 19-year-old kids that got married.
You look 19.
Thank you.
Guys.
Well, thanks.
And it's pretty fun, and it's also just like, what? How did all this happen?
Yeah.
You could never plan it. You could never map it out. It's really cool that life is like that. Like, you never know.
Yeah. Well, it's like the junior higher getting told by the guidance counselor, you're never going to be anything. And I love those stories where it's like, you are going to be something, and you don't have to be defined by what people told you
Right.
you were going to be or
Absolutely.
never going to be, or what you thought you were going to be, because it evolves into something that you couldn't even have planned for yourself.
Right.
And you couldn't have written it better. Like looking back, you're like, wow,
No, it's pretty fun.
this is cool.
And it's our story.
Yeah.
So we love that. It's
Yeah.
our story.
For
Luke
sure.
and Leah story for sure.
Yeah.
Why and
So-
what the heck is probably the same, just like how we got here.
Yeah.
It just life takes so many twists and turns, and it's just kind of amazing to see where God leads you through each
Absolutely.
year and each step and chapter with the kids, and just trying different things.
Yeah.
Yeah, what the heck? How did we have such awesome kids?
Well, yeah, I don't know.
Like, they came from kids themselves. So, yeah, to see everything building and coming together, to see the success of the business Woolsey Construction, to see the creation of this podcast, and just to give back and really kind of come alongside people indirectly or directly and say, like, just keep moving, and it gets better. And when you look back, all of that stuff is the good stuff. It's all the struggle, and all of that is kind of like, it is your badge of honor at the end of the day. You're like, oh man, I made it through that. And it sucked while I was doing it, but now I'm kind of glad I went through that. And
Yeah. The journey is really cool. And there's always suffering in the journey. Life is full of suffering, but it's like looking back and coming out the other end.
for
It's
sure.
pretty cool. So, yeah. So I guess we haven't touched on, how did you come up with Woolsey Construction? Like, what made you get that started?
Yeah. It's funny because I was working for a great contractor, and I really wanted to grow his business. And I had a meeting with him, and I said, look, I bought a brand new, big truck for all the tools, and I'm licensed, and I'm like well equipped, and I'm ready, and I've been with you for 5 years, and I want to run your business. I want to move up. And he looked at me and he said, well, I don't think I'm ready for that. And I said, well, I don't really want to start my own business. Please don't make me. But, and he said he'll think about it. And his answer came about a month later when he said, hey, I'm actually slowing down and need to lighten the load, and I know you'll land on your feet.
Wow.
And I thought,
Wow.
ooh.
Scary.
So I
Scary
kind
for
of got
you.
kicked out of the boat, you
Yeah.
know? And I mean, thankfully, it was right before the worst economic crisis we'd had since the Great Depression. It's the best time to start your own business. Totally joking.
Really?
Totally joking. I mean, this happened.
I was like, okay, take note.
No.
Maybe something's
This
coming.
happened November of 2007.
Yeah.
And it was like sink or swim, and everything started, hitting the fan in the economy. And I just thought, man, this is never going to work. And I mean, we survived, and we really dove into our investment companies while trying to keep our construction business going, and really barely held on to the construction company that we started out of just kind of necessity.
Yeah.
Barely held on to it from 2008 to 2012. And then we really said, hey, we're gonna
All in.
go all in and pour everything we've got into this.
Yeah.
after seeing all of the investments that we've done and seeing that we really have something that we can help people with.
Yeah, and you're passionate about it.
Very much so. Yeah. So, I think the construction company was something that we knew we might do,
Mm-hmm.
but had no clue that it would turn into what it has.
Yeah.
You know, I believe that if you're doing something right, it should grow.
Mm-hmm.
If it's healthy, it should grow.
Mm-hmm.
People should want to be a part of it. People should want to work with you. Relationships grow. And so, 17 years later, and we have a great list of projects that we've done.
Mm-hmm.
We've got great clients we've worked with in the past, amazing subcontractors, a great team, a reputation within the industry in our community that you don't just get overnight. And so it's like,
Mm-hmm.
it's humbling to go, wow, all of this came out of, just kind of giving a passion of ours a try. Not necessarily, I knew I wanted construction, but I didn't know about business.
Yeah, it was a sink or swim moment for him, I think, when he got laid off. And of course, he always rises to the challenge. And, I feel like he succeeds at everything he does. He's got a lot of ambition. And
I'm too stubborn, I think.
Yeah. Too stubborn to quit.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And I've got a great partner. And, when you have good people in your corner, people who care about you, and you do things right, or you at least try. You
Yeah.
know, I don't always get it right, but
Right.
I mean, our goal is always to consider the people and the relationships, and life isn't just about business and getting ahead and making money, but doing it well while you're doing it.
Right. Right. You want to be prosperous, but you want to, have good relationships too.
Absolutely. Yep.
So, yeah. Leah, anything to add to that?
anything to add to that?
Yeah. No. Yes.
I don't think so.
Yeah. That's cool. Well, thank you for sharing your story. I mean, I know that's just like the tip of the iceberg for your story. You're 25 years together.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you'll as soon as the cameras stop rolling, they'll
We'll think of a million other things.
a million other things, and we'll have.
But we'll get to do this again.
Oh, absolutely,
And you know
absolutely,
what?
and
We'll drag Leah back.
yeah,
Great.
This is her favorite thing.
it is.
Yes. I'm an extrovert, if you can tell.
Yeah, she talks a lot. Off camera, it's really hard to get a word in edgewise. She's the mastermind.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, thank
Yeah,
you.
thank
Thanks
you.
for being a guest. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming and interviewing us. And
Yeah, you're welcome. Anytime.
it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Thank you.